What's cooking, folks? Editing VP here, and we are going to be going through Rift Lord in Orcs Must Die Unchained. This series will basically be me doing a bit of voiceover over top of me completing the stages and explaining some of the nuance of what I was trying to accomplish, as well as critiquing some of the things that I could have done better, which hopefully should give you some insight on how to get through Rift Lord, as well as things you may be able to avoid doing that I also made mistakes with. Ultimately, I'm going to try to explain a little bit about the ideas behind how to trap well, at least as far as I understand them. I'm sure there are a lot of players that are much better at this game than I am and can give you much more explicit details regarding how to trap certain stages. But this is more of a sort of open-ended, how to get better at the game for more casual players than somebody that's looking to, knock down the high score leaderboards or something like that. That said, we're going to be getting into playing through Rift Lord, so there's going to be some spoilers, things unlocked post completion of War Mage, and they expect you to have a few traps here. You're not going to be going in completely naked like you would when you first play through the game, so the use of a good selection of traps is going to be important, as well as understanding some trap basics. What I'm going to try to do is standardize some vocabulary as we go through this as well, just so that you understand some of the reasoning behind what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And yeah, hopefully this will be a good educational experience, and we might have some fun too. But let's go ahead and get into the game. But first, I want to let you guys know that this game was given to me by Robot Entertainment to make sure that I could promote it for them. Just however I decided. And as always, I like to take games that I enjoy and share details about how they work and how I enjoy them personally. So a little bit of education, a little bit of fun is great for everybody, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Either way, let's get into the first map. So now that we're here, you'll notice my trap loadout. We have the Blunderbuss, the Ice Amulet, the Trap Reset Trinket, the floor spikes. These are electric floor spikes, a Arcane Brimstone, fire arrow walls, the Pounder with the stun perk, or the stun unique upgrade, and Barricades with the reinforcements, so they take less damage, and auto ballistas, which should be Arcane. Now, as far as the Trap Reset Trinket, not super important until you are building really big kill boxes. It's probably more important than Endless than it is here. If you want to use a melee weapon like the Blade Staff or the Elven Short Swords, feel free to. You would just want to drop the Trap Reset Trinket and bring the Healing Trinket so that you have more health and the ability to restore it without returning to the Rift. Running to the Rift is a huge detriment on your par time and your ability to just hold lanes. This game isn't one where your traps are really expected to solo 100% of the game for you. Your involvement as a player is kind of important here. It's doubling down on that player involvement that really separates Orcs Must Die from a lot of other tower defense games. And that's not a bad thing, but if you're coming from less interactive tower defense games, I guess, you'll probably find that a little odd. Anybody that's a veteran for Orcs will be used to it though, so you'll be fine. That said, we're trying to maximize the amount of damage that we do in the zones that we're trapping here. So we're producing a lot of traps as close to the gate as possible, mainly because we're not trying to have them move very far, and the par on the first level is a little tight. It's only 4.5 minutes about, and you don't want things moving too far. There's a couple of situations where I'm playing here and some of the heavier enemies sort of allow a break through the first set of traps. While I'm placing a lot of ground traps here, you could probably ignore a lot of those and go for something like swinging maces up top with just the slows, or place the arrow walls first and let them clear out a lot of things, because they'll fire about 3 barrages of arrows. Those arrows will do a decent amount of damage, and they're really good at clearing both small and heavy targets, especially the heavy ones. If you can get them to stand in the area that the arrows will be firing for a decent amount of time, it will deal a ton of damage. So just like in Unchained, even though Unchained has some skill differences, arrow walls are really good versus large targets. That said, when you have enemies that are sort of pushing forward, it's a good idea that you wait until just after your traps have fired, especially if you're using ceiling traps, because they have some collision issues with projectiles. You want to wait until after they fire and then they retract before you let loose with whatever your crowd control is. If you try to shoot your ice amulet or your stone staff while they're down, you'll find that they'll be absorbing the projectiles, and that goes for a lot of ceiling traps, not just the ceiling pounder. I let an orc get past. I wasn't really paying too much attention to him. He might have slipped by with the orc there, but you got to be careful with that. A lot of times, or not the orc, the ogre, but a lot of times ogres will charge into enemies, and when they do, the enemies fly in somewhat unpredictable ways, and they can go really far if you're not careful. Sometimes they can get jettisoned over whatever barricade setup you have. I have a short clip that I posted with an orc literally being charged into my rift not too long ago when I was streaming, and I was cracking up because of the sound that the orc made as he was flying into the rift. That moment will stick with me forever. It was too funny. But one of the things that you'll notice that are new here are you have Grenadier Gnolls, which were definitely not here in War Mage or Apprentice, and then you have the Heavy Armored Ogre instead of a regular Ogre. So you're getting a lot of heavier enemies. That's going to basically require that you use some lightning in your traps, or just get them stuck next to those arrow walls to take them out quickly. But I made decent use of the coin here. I don't think there's too many ways to optimize this much more amazingly better, but it works. It's pretty simple, and I talked a bit about just dropping some of the traps that I don't think worked well here, but ultimately I liked the way that this worked out. You could probably drop, if you don't want to go with the swinging maces, just change the floor spikes out for some brimstones, and while it may cost a bit more, you will find that they are a bit more consistent in getting their damage dealt. They'll recharge in about the same amount of time, but you'll make sure that you're hitting about 5 orcs every time they're coming through, and that's really what you pay for with the increased cost of that trap. But even so, if you don't want to use brimstone, it's not a necessity at all. Obviously I didn't throw any out here, so play around with what you like and optimize it the way that you see fit. This is me upgrading an auto ballista, which I just earned the coins for, and we're sort of going to take that and probably make it a bit more useful later on. I found that even without it upgrading, it was a bit clutch, just improving the trap setup that I had here, just because auto ballista's range allows it to be placed sort of out of the range of your core kill box and still improve your trap zone. So you have a lot of overlapping trap damage that can take out the big enemies relatively quickly and leave you with less work and less cleanup. That's ultimately what will happen as your kill box setups get larger. You'll either get a more concentrated line of enemies through them, or you'll be left with cleanup work for whatever doesn't just get mowed down by the traps immediately. So this is a good example, and if you're just getting into Rift Lord, I recommend playing around on this level a few times just so you can see how efficient you can spend that early coin, because the first couple of levels on Rift Lord are really sort of those make or break situations where you'll figure out how you're required to set up things to successfully 5-skull the level. After you get through those levels, usually you'll have enough coin to really go into whatever sort of more lengthy build you're looking to put out. But those first levels where you really only have the starting coin and you're working to you know, deal with the gates as they initially open is really going to be the most crucial. But let me know what you guys think of the game so far. If you're playing it, feel free to let me know what you think of Rift Lord. Is it too easy for you, too hard? It depends on exactly where you are on your skill level, as far as players of Orcs games, or Orcs Must Die specifically, how things will feel to you. And also which game you last played. If you played Unchained, things will feel very different here. If you played Orcs Must Die 1 or 2, then it'll feel mostly about the same. But there's still some tweaks here, and I expect that with updates to the game, like this may even change again. So we may have to revisit this at some point just to see if everything holds up after some things change. But either way, we'll deal with that when it happens. As always, thank you guys for tuning in. Feel free to let me know in the comments if there's anything specifically you'd like to see. And until then, as always, take care of yourselves and have a good one, folks. Peace.